Welcome back. If you are making your way around Guam streets, wherever you are on this 30-mile long by 7-mile wide little slice of heaven here in the Western Pacific, we are Guam, everybody, and we're glad to have you along for this Monday episode of The Link. If you're a part of the Link fam joining us worldwide, we are happy to see you too, and we hope you're being safe. We got Chris and Sabrina standing by, and they have a friend who we have not heard from in a hot minute, Dr. Michael at One Love Pediatrics. So, what's going on, guys?
What's up, Jay? Thanks for that intro. The Jason Solis, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Link again, brought to you by East West Rental, Cabo Enterprises, ITD, and Jack in the Box. Good morning, Dr. Michael. How are you, my friend?
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to be here.
Long time.
Yeah, thankfully, right?
I know. I guess that's good, right?
Things are all right.
Right. So, Doc, we wanted to bring you on because as the announcement, what was it, Bree, last week? The
FDA, then the CDC, and then the Dr. Cabrera was on the show announcing that the 12 to 15-year-olds are now authorized to get the vaccine. And so now we're really going to see things really ramp up to get 12 to 15-year-olds vaccinated.
Right, and since you are with One Love Pediatrics, I guess we first kind of wanted to start about what people are saying since this announcement, and what is it translated to for you at the clinic level?
Well, I've actually had some of my patients already reach out to me and tell me that they went ahead and got their kids vaccinated. So I know for a fact that at least 3 of my patients have already gotten vaccine, and they're in the 12-year-old range. Overall, there seemed to be a lot of interest from parents previous to the announcement coming out that they kept asking me when this vaccine was going to be approved for kids, and I'm really excited this is happening. We know that even though the very young children, they aren't very good at catching the disease or passing it on as well as adults are, but once kids get over the age of 10, that incidence and the frequency starts to go up. So having our younger kids at 12 and 12 and up getting vaccinated will ultimately be very beneficial for the island when we think about our herd immunity. And now I'm hearing that or reading that Pfizer's clinical trials and Moderna are including kids as young as 6 months. So hopefully sometime in the not too distant future, it will be approved for them as well.
And just for clarification, this is just for the Pfizer vaccine, just for people who are listening.
Yes, that's correct. The 12 and up is just for the Pfizer, not even the Moderna. And Pfizer, a lot of people are asking if it's going to be available in clinics. Due to the ultra cold storage requirements, I'm guessing it's still only going to be rolled out by public health. And I think there's an outreach at Father Dueñas, I believe, tomorrow for a vaccine clinic, but somebody might have to double check that.
Yeah. Doc, so when let's say, hypothetical, I'm with One Love and I call and I ask about, getting the kids vaccinated. What are some of the things that you tell patients who are looking to do that?
Generally, a lot of the concerns come around safety, right? Understandably. Kids seem to do pretty well. The most common side effects are going to be some sort of low-grade fever, something about 10% after the first dose, and 20% of the kids at the trials after the second dose. And then other than that, it'll be the headaches, mild fatigue, about 50 and 60% for both. Overall, though, they tend to do really well as far as the clinical trials been involved. The clinical trials included 2,200 kids. So 1,100 of them or so got the vaccine, and 1,100 had a placebo, and it was as I believe was a double-blind controlled study. And in the vaccinated group, none of them ended up getting COVID, and in the placebo group, 16% did. So when you might read some studies that say, or some headlines that say the Pfizer vaccine is 100% effective for this age range, that's where that number is coming from. Now, as it rolls out and, more and more kids get it, will 1 or 2 maybe, or will a few get it even if they get vaccinated? Probably, right? But as of now, this is where that 100% effective rate is coming from.
You mentioned that you had some calls already from parents of children who informed you that they got their child vaccinated. What are some frequently asked questions? So whether or not, I don't know if you've gotten any calls from your patients or your clients.
Generally, the frequently asked questions I get is, what can we expect? Is it safe for them? and how has it been studied? I know there's like a thing that going around on social media. Only one of my friends, and this is actually a friend from California, reached out to me, asked about the fertility issue. I don't know if you guys have heard this. There were some concerns about the vaccine causing fertility issues. It looks like it's just a thing going around social media. There's nothing to suggest that it's going to affect future fertility rates. And even the American College of Gyn Onc have said that this isn't something that they consider an issue. Alongside of that, I also get questions from moms about if they're pregnant, if they should be getting it, or if they're breastfeeding, if they should be getting it. And it looks like initial studies show that they doesn't seem to have any effects on the fetus if you get it while you're pregnant. Breastfeeding should be fine, but the question everybody wants to know is there the data to show that? And because it's so new, of course, we don't have the data just yet. But it seems like everything should be fine. And then I usually include a little anecdote. So my wife we're expecting our first baby, and she actually got her first shot before she knew she was pregnant, but she definitely got her second shot even after she knew she was pregnant. And so far, everything's going well.
For kids, when they get the shot, is it the same thing where you wait 3 weeks and then they get the second dose? Everything's the same?
Yeah, everything's pretty much the same. The dosage is the same. The amount is the same. The frequency or the time that we have to wait is going to be the same as well. And then the same contraindications as well, right? So if you had a severe anaphylactic reaction to any component of the vaccines, then you don't want that. And if you had COVID, I think within the last 90 days prior, then you shouldn't be getting the vaccine. But thankfully, not too many of our kids have gotten COVID, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Right. Doc, so when people the grown-ups get vaccinated, we hear this messaging a lot about still having to adhere to the safety measures, right, that prevent the spread of COVID. How do you as a pediatrician kind of communicate that to kids who are used to thinking whenever they go get these shots, like that, they get these shots and that's it, and they don't have to worry about tetanus or, whatever other kind of shots they're used to getting?
Oh, well, I mean, it's important to remember that even after the second dose, you still need the 2 weeks, right, to let your antibodies build up. So definitely between then, you should still be careful. But I think kids are actually very good about following the rules that are presented to them. So usually they're going to be in school, and schools are going to say you're going to have to wear your mask, you're going to have to keep washing your hands. And for now, I know the CDC came out with a guideline, or the recommendations rather than guidelines. But the decision was made on island to keep us safe until we get to that herd immunity stage. So up until then, I think it still behooves everyone to take the usual precautionary measures that we've been getting used to that got us here now, right? I mean, imagine where we are now or just look at where we are now compared to where we were like 6 months ago. I mean, you look at places like India and Brazil, and they're just on fire right now. And, it's not, I look at that and it was not too far of a stretch to think that, if our hospitals got overrun, we could have been in a very scary predicament.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I just saw that thing in India where is that accurate, Doc? Where they're with the cow manure?
With the what? Sorry?
There's something with cow manure being touted as some kind of like
oh my God. I mean, when people get desperate, right?
Right.
And people are just dying by the thousands every day, I'm sure
they'll
they're
try
looking for anything.
Right, yeah.
And that's actually one thing, is like we're in a really fortunate, I mean, I would dare say like luxurious position where we have so many vaccines that we can afford to like give it to our kids who honestly, they don't get super sick. I mean, there could be an argument that maybe we should send these vaccines over to India, but as long as we have them here, I say let's get our kids vaccinated.
Right.
Doc, what would you say to parents that are still kind of on the fence on whether, I should get my child vaccinated or not?
I think the important thing is, it will protect them. There are, even though kids generally do pretty well, there are some kids, a very small percentage, of course, that become long haulers of COVID. We do know that another very small percentage will have some complications of their heart. So for these athletes, it'd be nice if they were protected. Otherwise, they might have some complications that, that might need to be followed for a while. And then overall, just keep the family safe, right? So, you know, the first line is that the parents get their shots, right? So they can keep the kids safe because usually it's going to go from the adults to the kids.
Yeah.
But if they have slightly older kids, then, you know, that also protects the adults as well, you know, as the kids go back to school.
What was it that Dr. Hoa said when he was on last week that part of the issue might also be for kids trying to get them to get the shot is that they're scared, right? They're scared of the needles.
Yep.
And I don't
Yeah, my
want
17-year-old
Well-
was scared of the needle.
What do you tell your,
I mean,
your,
that's.
your patients, your kids when they come in to get their shot?
I tell them it's okay to be scared. Nobody likes getting shots. I don't like getting shots.
At least you don't
Just do
lie.
it, right?
Some of these doctors would be like, "Oh no, it's not going to hurt a bit." I can't.
Yeah, I definitely don't lie. I just tell them it is gonna hurt, but it's not gonna hurt for very long.
You know, I didn't actually feel hardly anything when I got my shot, and I thought, you know, and I am one of those people
Yep,
that are like
yep.
scared.
Mhm.
You know, I don't want,
Sure are.
you know, you know, I wish we rolled on that when the guardsman was giving me my shot, but I was like, oh, is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna hurt? And then boom, he did it, and I was like, wait, you're done? So yeah, it's the same needle, right? Everything's the same.
Yeah, everything's the same for the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, in this case.
Doc, where are we in terms of, because we've asked this to a few of the docs who have come on, booster shots for the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, that's a thing where, you know, some of the, I think it was like the Pfizer boss, right, that said like eventually we'll have booster shots. With the Pfizer vaccine though, against the UK variant, I was just reading a paper, it's about 95% effective against the UK variant, 75% effective against the South African variant. We don't have enough data yet on the Indian variant, but that's really what it's all gonna depend upon, right? So if the virus mutates enough that it can start escaping the vaccine, then yeah, they're gonna have to come up with booster shots. But it's not way too early, but I think it's too early to tell for now if that's gonna be the case. And then the other thing is because the vaccine itself is very new, we only have data so far, I think 6 months of data that says, hey, you know, the antibodies are still there, you're still protected after 6 months. But we'll have to see as more and more data comes out, like,
Wow.
do you still have antibodies after a year? Do you still have it after 5 years? And if that's the case and it doesn't change that much, then maybe it's just a one and done. But I wouldn't be surprised if they later came out and said, hey, you know, the vaccine or the virus has changed just enough that a vaccine will, a booster shot might be helpful. Maybe just for the more vulnerable population, but
Right.
It wouldn't be surprising.
That's so interesting because, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this on the doctor side, but time passes quicker during COVID. Like it's already May.
Definitely.
Right. So, I mean, when we say like, oh, after the first year, that first year, it's kind of coming up. I mean, you know, in just a few months. Doc, what about not COVID? What are we dealing with at the pediatric level with non-COVID?
You know, there's once kids got back to school, you know, there was the same, you know, common colds. There's, let's say maybe 5 weeks ago, I saw a really mild cold that was going around. It seemed like most of the adults were getting it, but not too symptomatic, and then passing it on to their kids. And then there was a stomach bug that was going around. But overall, nothing too crazy. Yeah, kind of what you expect. It's kind of weird because typically this time of year, there's not very many, you know, cold kind of illnesses that come into clinic. But
Yeah.
I think now that the return to school kind of stimulated like a little, you know, petri dish where now we're passing the colds back and forth.
My
But
boy got
no,
that stomach
nothing too
bug.
serious.
Yeah, my boy got that stomach bug. But I told him it was because he ate those flaming hot, whatever chips.
Well, that's a good way to stay away from that ultra processed food. That's a good thing.
I mean, what's your take on that, Doc? Because when I Googled it, because he didn't believe, of course he didn't believe me. I was like, no, I just Google it. And I Googled it, and there were some stories about, you know, kids overdoing it with those flaming hot things.
I think it might irritate and give him a stomach ache a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to cause him 7 days of diarrhea.
All right. Hopefully he's not listening. All right, Doc. And then I know that you chair the education committee on the Physicians Advisory Group, but since we've pretty much kind of gone back already and all that remains to be done is the full return to face-to-face, you guys don't really discuss much on the education committee?
Yeah, we've been, the schools have been handling it on their own, and they've been doing a great job from what I can see. So there hasn't really been any issues where they needed the physician's guidance. So yeah, they got from here. They're doing great.
Does that to you speak a lot to just the protocols that we put into place when we opened the schools? Because I remember at the time the schools were closed, there was that real conversation a lot of people were having. I mean, including people coming on the show who were worried about just the potential for transmission of the virus at the school level.
I think it's a bit of that, and also, we've just learned a lot more, right, since all this has happened, and so we know the younger kids aren't spreading it very well. Airborne seems to be a more important form of transmission that we initially thought at the beginning, right? So keeping the areas well ventilated. But yeah, I mean, everybody was really very motivated to make school a very safe place for kids, and yeah, they've done a great job.
I guess just finally, just what parents need to know when they take their child to get vaccinated, what they need to bring, etc.
I think if they have some sort of age verification, that would be helpful. Although I think as long as the parent can sign off and say that the child is of age, then that should be valid. And then they'll probably have the same waiting period afterwards, right? After the shot. So you'll have that 15-minute wait period, and then 3 weeks in between the shots.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say expect like some mild symptoms. With the younger kids, they probably will have a more robust immune response. So, expect maybe a low grade temp, some soreness, fever, or some fatigue. I mean, not all of them all at the same time, hopefully, but one of them will probably show up.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have an estimate just how many 12 to 15-year-olds we have on Guam that are eligible to get this vaccine?
I don't have the age breakdown. I know there's about 40,000 age 0 to 14. So probably, I mean, some slice of that, right? So, but yeah, as the FDA and CDC starts putting out recommendations that younger ages can get this, and hopefully we can capture all of that.
Okay.
Right on, Doc. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
I guess we'll talk to you again in 3-4 months.
We'll see.
Biannual check-in. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
There you go.
All right.
See you.
Have a good day, guys.
You too. Dr. Michael 8:45. Interesting discussion there. Is vaccinations now open for 12 to 15-year-olds?
Mm-hmm.
8:46 now. We take a quick break, and we're coming back with more.